Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I wanted to read a Facebook post by Bhaktiananda Goswami, and he's saying, Nopalji, we sold the farm that we had before the retreat. It was truly awesomely beautiful, with a half-mile of sand-bottomed river frontage and 100 to 500 year old trees and 13 acres of deep loam bottom land with an old orchard and many ponds. But the devotees, in quotation marks, who came there in the 1980s just wanted me to die so that they could abuse my kids and grow their dope there and carry on their various criminal enterprises. So after that nightmare experience, I became much more wary and careful. Unfortunately, although I tried for more than 30 years, I could never find any honest, clean-living devotees to join me there for simple living. It seems that the back to the land part of the Hare Krishna movement was only really to grow pot and get stoned. Without that, no one wanted to move out to the middle of nowhere and become self-sufficient. Oh well. So he's continuing. The Jesus passages in the corrupted section of the Bhavishya Purana are fraud. So this is something unrelated to the topic. And then he says, Srila Prabhupada was and is a real saint, but he never posed himself as an authority in the apostolic lineage of Jesus Christ, and he never criticized any of the scriptures, saints or gurus of these authentic lineages either. So this is another topic. And then he goes on, in my non-ISKCON working and volunteer life, I spent decades visiting and taking care of the institutionalized, mentally ill and disabled. The best single book I ever read about the manipulative psychopaths that I encountered both in my work as patients and as staff, and outside of work as leaders in ISKCON, was Scott Peck's People of the Lie. His analytic of certain psychopaths and sociopaths as a particular kind of high-functioning autistic person validated my own observations about the conscienceless total lack of empathy, but the expert mimicry and emotional manipulation of the criminal element of leadership in ISKCON. In fact, I observed that these same common characteristics could be observed in almost all dangerously charismatic false messiahs, guru or avatar types, which were all capable of convincing others that they were worthy of worship when they were not. To clarify, high-functioning autistic persons may not experience the reality of other persons or beings or things outside of their own body the way that normal people do. Thus they may be entirely incapable of any true compassion or empathy. However, they may have learned that to get what they want in life, they have to mimic having certain emotions, and thus they have learned to expertly manipulate their victims. When caught, the unfaithful Prince Charming in a recent movie said, quote, "I was raised to be charming, not sincere," unquote. Such expert manipulators are always in character and on stage. Other people and beings are just soulless props to them, to be moved around in their private universe by their studied emotional mimicry and manipulation. As such, a predatory person is devoid of any real feeling for the people and beings that they manipulate. When they are done with their victim, like a spider that has sucked its prey dry, the conscienceless human predator just discards the shell of the victim, whose life they have consumed. A normal person who recognizes this, the real existence of other beings, and is therefore able to empathize with them, will be troubled by a bad conscience or feeling of guilt when they have done something wrong. Thus even a dog or a very small child will act guilty if they have made a mess on the floor. But a person who cannot recognize the existence and personhood of any other cannot have empathy and therefore cannot feel guilt for having harmed, killed, used up, manipulated or thrown away another being. So consequently, without shame or guilt, the psychopaths or sociopaths will just keep repeating their serial killing, child molestation, predatory con games and their religious messianic masquerade until they are stopped or die. So this is one of the best descriptions of the situation of organized religion in this Kali Yuga, as we have unfortunately experienced after the departure of Srila Prabhupada. So most of the people were so much cheated and abused by these false gurus that many now don't even want to have anything to do with Krishna consciousness. There's even one devotee who wears a t-shirt, "Krishna, save me from your devotees." So in the ultimate sense, this will also not help us. So what I want to advocate is to see the ideal and see the reality, because if we have an unrealistic approach to reality, then we will be disappointed. So if you go outside, you know, your firewall is up, you know people will cheat you, people will try to rip you off, and if you are blinded by this ideal from the scriptures, then you put your firewall off, because you say, oh, in the books, for example, of Prabhupada, it is said purity is the force, truthfulness. These people are brahmanas, so they must be truthful, they must be cleanly, and this way you turn off your natural firewall that we need to survive in this world. So what we have seen is basically that any religion in Kali Yuga is always controlled by these sociopaths, and they are often highly intelligent. They know the philosophy of Krishna consciousness perfectly well. They're charismatic, but they feel no compassion. They feel no compassion or guilt when they claim to be pure devotees and rip people off. So this is something that seems to be the case in all the religion, these kind of dangerous sociopaths. So what Prabhupada wanted was basically these self-sufficient Varnashram farm communities, but as Bhaktivedanta pointed out, it hasn't been possible, because of lack of willingness to do this in the West. And even when I went to Simhachalam in Germany and asked if they're actually growing anything, they told me, oh no, we don't know how to do it. One old farmer was doing it, but now he's not coming in anymore, so nobody is growing anything. So basically this is one of the ideals, these self-sufficient farm communities, and you can't depend on it. We need to find some other way to survive, because the devotees don't want to do this. Cooperation is another thing, because of the next point, cooperation and truthfulness. Because there's no truthfulness and all the gurus are claiming to be pure devotees and they neglect the July 9th 1977 letter, then there can be no cooperation, because now the whole movement is split into different false guru camps. Inside ISKCON, every false guru has his camp, and outside ISKCON, most of the people went off to the Gaudiya Math to get cheated by Narayan Maharaj, who is another pretender guru, but in the mode of goodness. So because of all these camps, there cannot be any cooperation. And even amongst Prabhupada Nugas, there's no real cooperation, because people just start fighting and insulting each other on Facebook. So what we see you know, and then you got the homosexual camp, like these Galva or this Hridayananda Goswami. So we see more and more different fractions, and instead of cooperation and unity. And also, you know, when you deal with normal people, you have your firewall up. So with devotees also we have experienced many devotees are lying, are cheating. So, you know, you just need to deal with them with a normal expectation. These are just ordinary conditioned souls. So we can't expect any perfection. Because Prabhupada talks in his book about an ideal class of brahmanas, but this is not a reality. So don't get fooled, don't get cheated. You know, this can be very bad for you and can destroy your faith in Krishna consciousness completely. So what can be done? The solution is to accept Srila Prabhupada as your guru, to read his books, because through his purports we can directly associate with Srila Prabhupada, and to chant the holy name. This is something you can, and hear the holy name also as much as possible. So I just get an MP3 player, and when I go outside I constantly play the mantra Hare Krishna and listen to transcendental sound vibrations. So basically what we have seen is that organizations in this Kali Yuga have always failed in the worst kind of way. So basically the only thing right now we can do is to practice alone in your home. So this will be a topic for my next video. Hare Krishna.